because every person have their own specialty, every person have their own skill set. So there are situations whereby even though people say group work is good, different view is good, but there are certain scenario when individual work is much more easy to be achieved or to be monitored and so on. Right? But if you want to do in groups, then it must be a group of architects. Meaning that the group member must be from similar background, they must have similar experience, they must have similar understanding on architecture, right? So we cannot, for example, like the requirement analyst, I can actually ask software tester and I can ask software designer to be part of the requirement analyst group. For example, for software tester, usually I will assign software tester to identify requirement related to NFR, non-functionality requirement. Software tester will focus more on logical flow, will focus more on process flow. But when it comes to creating an architecture, the best practice is that not to mix up the member in the group. Either you ask one architect to make the decision, or it can be a group of architects, but make sure the group of architects has similar understanding, similar background. Then only the decision will become consistent, cohesive, and have a certain integrity. Right? Remember that why this is so important, as I mentioned in the tutorial, if you make a mistake when you create your architecture, it will impact every person starting from there. It will give negative impact to all the activities that come after construction of architecture. And then to redo the whole thing will become very costly. It will involve a lot of time, it will involve a lot of money. Right? So architecture is so damn important that we try to make sure not even a single error will occur. Right? So that's why we need a highly skilled, highly experienced people with years of experience in programming and construction in order to become an architect. Okay, so that is guideline number one. Ask one architect or a group of architects. Means that try not to, do not mix the background. Okay, do not mix different different background member. Different background member. Right? You should not ask software tester, you should not ask software analyst to be part of your team in developing the architecture. Right? However, you can ask them to become the reviewer. Okay, you can ask the software tester, we can ask the software analyst to become our team of reviewer. Meaning that they are going to help us to identify any error that we may not see from different angle and from different perspective. Okay, but they should not be part of the construction team. Number two, must based on well-specified quality attribute. Okay, must based on well-specified quality attribute. Meaning that the quality attribute for your project must be very precise. Okay, for your assignment, I think two tutorial group already, two participation have undergone the session with me. Right. I'm not arguing whether the quality objective that you choose is right or wrong. I'm arguing what I try to argue with you is that does the software quality attributes that you choose fit and suitable with your system? Right? Number one. And then number two, if you say that it is suitable, I want to know the reason. Sometimes I do play around. Lah. Sometimes your selection is correct, but your justification is not right. So I will keep on toying with you. I will keep on provoking you. I will not give you my final answer until you give me the right justification. Correct? Okay, that is number one. Okay, another way to understand well-specified quality attribute is like this. Okay, when I have a system, let's say this is my system. Okay, let's say we have 20 quality attribute. Okay, quality objective or quality attribute. Let's say we have 20. maintainability, modifiability, performance, efficiency, availability, reliability, blah 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 blah. They say like we have 20. I cannot remember actually. In real life, we cannot implement all these 20, right? In real life, we cannot implement all these 20. Why? Because some of the quality attributes they do contradict each other. They do contradict each other. For example, availability and security, sometimes they contradict each other. With that, I cannot achieve either one. Sorry, I cannot achieve both. I can only achieve either one. So usually availability and security can become a very bad pairing, very bad partner. Okay, that is number one. Number two that we need to understand is that by default, okay, let's start from this point of view. By default, all systems are secure. By default, all systems have good performance. Okay, let's say I buy a standard server. Okay, let's say I buy a standard server. Okay, what's I ask one of your friends. A standard server can handle how many? Let's say I develop a web-based application. Roughly, how many users can the server entertain at one time? By default, means that the standard server, not high-end, not low-end, standard server. I host my web base inside that server. Roughly, how many users I can entertain at one time? Any idea? Any idea? Any number? Any number? Just give me one number. Okay, anybody who say low, less than 1,000. One server can handle less than 1,000 users at one time. Standard server, not high end, not low end. Standard server. Anybody agree that maximum it can go 1,000 users at one time? Okay, I have one user for participating. Anybody else? Lower than 1,000. We set 0 to 1,000. After that, the server will become slow. 2, 3. Okay, I have 1, 2, 3. Okay, how about 0 to 5,000? 1, 2, 3. Okay, a bit bigger. 0 to 10,000 per server. I have one. I have a few there. Right. So for a standard server, in current scenario, don't look at your PC and then you consider, and then you install Zen or WAM, then automatically you consider that is the server that we use in the industry. No, server in industry is way high-end compared to your laptop. But even it is high-end, there are still some different categories. A high-end, the middle-end, and the low-end server. Alright? So a standard server by right can handle 5,000 to 10,000 users by default. No need special configuration. Okay, now my question. You are developing restaurant management system. And then suddenly you say, what my quality objective is scalability. Right. My question is, how big is your restaurant that you will have 10,000 users at the same time? Or how big is your hotel that you will have 10,000 users at the same time using your application? Huh? I asked Fatty Crab. I asked Fatty Crab. I asked him because they have a few branches. The one is now already closed. They have a few branches. I said maximum, right? How many orders per day? Starting from lunch until the end of it. They say less than 1,000 to 2,000 orders per day. Then I was thinking, if I create an ordering management system for Fatty Crab, scalability is not my quality of ethics. Okay, let's say performance. Okay, let's say you say I want to go for performance. restaurant management system performance. Okay, standard server. Let's say you use a standard architecture, layered architecture, a very classic traditional architecture. Means that you divide your system into three parts: UI, business process, data. That's it. The standard response time, if you use layered architecture plus a standard server, usually around 3 seconds, sorry, 2 seconds to 5 second response time. Meaning that if you want to understand this, if I load a page in my system, it will take 2 to 5 second loading time. Okay? No special configuration. Just I create in that when I develop my system, I create three folder. One folder I put all the code related to UI. One folder for my all for my if else loop, decision making, blah 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 blah. And then my third folder is all about data, my DAO, my CRUD, everything in one folder. Okay, and then I put them inside one standard server, PHP. Let's say I use PHP in my SQL. Right. So the server can handle 10,000 users, and then the response time is 2 seconds to 5 seconds. Easily achievable without any special configuration, without any specific architecture that you want to use. So back to my question: if you do a hotel, sorry, if you do a restaurant management system, 2 seconds to 5 seconds is not fast enough. How fast your hotel, your restaurant management system? You need to respond 0.01 second. Push button before I even lift up my finger, boom. The new page is loaded. I press submit, not even I lift my finger, order successful. Do you need that? Ah, that is the purpose of the assignment. I want you to argue with me. I will not say your selection is right or wrong, but I keep on asking this kind of question until you can think on your own whether the quality of your data is suitable or not for your system. Right. For example, who say I want to go for security. Okay, this is the best one. I know most of you go for security because for one reason. I have payment module. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, when you develop any system in any part of the world, your system is not allowed to collect any kind of money. So what do we do? How we solve this problem? So with that, your system will communicate with a third party system, what we call as payment gateway. What is payment gateway? SPX, Razor Pay, Mall 88, Shopee Pay, no. Shopee Pay is just a term. He used SPX. All these are payment gateway. What it is third party software that is given the and the authorization to transfer money between multiple parties, including the bank. So what you do, your system only give the total amount, okay, total number, then you have order ID, and then type of payment. When the user select, I want to pay by cash and go, online banking, credit card, or whatnot. But the moment you press pay, then it goes to another page and it says, do not refresh the page. That actually the system is transferring from your system transfer to the payment gateway. It's a third party system. Meaning that there is no security issue that you need to handle because the security issue is now under the responsibility of the payment gateway. So if I am owner of payment gateway, security will be my top quality value. But for restaurant management system, security no need. But Ibrahim, our client register their address, register their whatever, blah, blah, blah. A standard encryption in MySQL plus secure socket layer. It's a secure socket layer means that any data that you transfer from client to server will be automatically encrypted. You use that particular function. That is enough to take care of your security. Because there is no critical data that you are protecting. So why do we need security for your ask this kind of question? Okay, I'm not sure about the other six groups, how your tutor handle the assignment. But for my group, these are the questions that I will keep on asking you. Okay, go. Right, now, what is the discussion is all about? Identify a well-specified quality objective. So it means that your architecture will only be a good architecture if you choose a well-specified quality objective. Okay, so if I choose performance as number one, maintainability as number two, does that mean my system doesn't have security? No, my system still has security. Just that by default value only. By default value only. When I put one and two, means that I'm going to put extra effort. I'm going to choose the right architecture for performance and maintainability. But security is still supported. But I'm not going to put some extra work on it. So that's what we mean by two most important quality attributes. Okay, next. Apply view to address stakeholder concern. Okay, now view means group of info. Group of information. So it means that when you create your architecture, different people who read the architecture, or what we call them as our stakeholder, different people require different group of information. So your architecture must be able to offer that information to them. So a group of information for one particular stakeholder is called a view. So your architecture must be able to provide different information to different stakeholders. Okay? When your client read your architecture, he doesn't bother about the component. He doesn't want to know about the component. He just wants to know how do you achieve the quality objective aligned to my business goal. If your project manager look at the architecture, he doesn't care about the component. He only say there are three parts, there are three structures in your architecture. Will this affect the timeline? Do I need to add more money? Do I need to hire more people to help you? They ask only about planning, costing, right? So the architecture must be able to provide all those information. So your architecture must offer different group of information to different stakeholders. Okay. Number four, evaluated at early stage. So once you do your architecture, make sure your architecture is a review and assess. Okay, review and evaluated or assess. Right? Do not simply after you create your architecture, you pass to the designer, and then after the designer put in all the class diagram, everything, then only you conduct review. Don't do that. Remember, software design is divided by two: initial design, detailed design. Right? So you think that okay, let's do initial design, and then we put all the detail in the detailed design. Before coding, then only we conduct review. Don't do that. Why? Because if there is an error at the architecture stage, all the work that you have done, all the work that your designer have done, the class diagram and everything, will be void, will be useless. So once you create an architecture, even though there is not much detail on it, review. Right? Because at the end of the day, we want to see whether the architecture can achieve the quality attribute or not. That's the main reason for our architecture. Okay, lastly, from process point of view, if you want to know whether your architecture is good or not, during the development process, number five, construct for incremental implementation. Means that your architecture is created for the purpose of incremental development. I can develop the system bit by bit, part by part. Prototype 1, prototype 2, prototype 3, prototype 4. Okay, so means that your system must be your architecture must be very flexible. It must have a lot of decomposition. It must have a lot of abstraction, layer of information, not just boom, one folder, everything inside that folder. Okay, we don't do that anymore nowadays. Okay, so construct for incremental implementation. Okay, that one is from process point of view. Let's look from another angle. How do I want to create a good architecture? Now we are talking about product and structure. Okay, now we talk about product and structure. Number one, your architecture is built to change, not to last. Means that your architecture can be easily accepting new module. Be careful that this statement doesn't say the architecture can change. No, architecture cannot change. If we change the architecture, then the whole system needs to be revamped. But what we are talking here, built to change means the architecture can easily, okay, accept new component or module or subsystem. Okay, for example, like this. Okay, they say my system is divided into three. Just now we said, for example. So meaning that they say I want to create a new architecture. They say this is the black color is the existing, is the one that I have created before. Okay, they say after 5 years, I want to add a new subsystem. Okay, my client come to me, hey, this one, the system that you developed before is good, but now I want to create a new subsystem with a totally different functionality. So the idea is that if my architecture is good, then I can only add new components to represent the new subsystem without disturbing the existing architecture. And then the new system can just be plug and play, can just be simply connected to the existing system. I don't have to change majority of the existing component. But if I have to change majority of the main component, of the existing component, means that my architecture is rigid. My system is rigid. Right? So that's why if RSD student, they don't care about this. RSD student, you want output, I give you output, bye-bye. You come back to me in 5 years, my solution to you, we build everything from zero. Right? But for software engineering, we don't offer our client like that. We are much more thoughtful. Okay, fine, we can add new system that we check where we can put plug and play, where we can put add new module without disturbing the current system. That's what we mean by you build your architecture for the purpose of change, not to last. Right? Number two, the architecture must have a well-defined module that implement information hiding and separation of concern. Okay, first you must implement information hiding. So meaning that between one module, let's say module one, when you talk to module two, module one will not know whatever inside module two. The only thing he knows is that what are the functions that module two allow him to talk to. That's called information hiding. I don't even know which class in module 2 that will handle the request. Okay, I'll give you one simple example. Mm, okay, let me change that. Okay, let's say this is module 2. Inside module 2, let's say I have three classes. Okay. And then module 1 want to connect to module 2. But okay, let me make it easier to understand. Okay, let's say module 2 offers something. I'm offering function X, right? So module 1 will connect to module 2 by calling function X. But module 1 doesn't even know function X in this class, or in this class. That information is hidden. I only know that module 2 has a function called an X, so I would like to use that function. Okay, but we don't show the detail of it. Okay, we don't show the detail of it. Right. But if you create a module, let's say in this I have one class, and then I have another module, and this module have two class. I want to use a function, but I will connect directly to the class. Let's say this is module 1, this is module 2. So when I want to use the function, I call directly the class. I don't call the function, I call the class. Meaning that inside that module 2, I already know which class that will offer that function. So this is not a good design. Why? Information is not hidden. Encapsulation fail. Encapsulation fail. Right? By right, if I want to talk to M2, I only call the function, but I do not know where the function is inside M2. Right? I do not know where is the location of function inside M2. I only know there is a function called fx. So that is called information hiding. Okay, now let's look at part number 2, separation of concern. So with that, as I said just now, this relate back to this guy, number 3, apply view. Right? Separation of concern is that the architecture must be able to provide different group of information for different stakeholders. Okay, different group of information for different stakeholders. Okay, use architectural patterns suitable for the quality attribute. So it is suggested do not create your own architecture if you don't have the skill. Instead, please use a template. Right? There are a lot of template that is available in the industry. So why is it so good to use a template? Because a template is basically an architecture that has been replicated. Means that a lot of people have tried this architecture and they have tested this architecture and then they can give you a guarantee if you use this architecture you can get this result. So it has been proven. That has been proven. Let's say if I want to achieve security, use layered architecture. Confirm you will achieve security. Right? So you can use a pattern. We have MVC, MVP, MVVM, we have onion, we have space-based, we have layered, we have N-tier, blackboard, repository, final filter, blah, 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 blah. Lots. Your task is to find a template that is suitable to your quality objective. That's it, done. Can I modify the template? Yeah, you can modify the template. But when you modify the template, of course, the result will be unknown. Right? You may get the answer, you may get the result, or you may get some error because you modify the template. Right? But most of the time, it will be still achievable. Okay? But if you are so well experienced, you have become a software designer for the past 15 to 20 years, then by all means, you can create your own architecture. Just that your architecture cannot be called a template. If anybody else copy your architecture for their project, it is at their own risk. Right? Because there is no guarantee. Unless a lot of people try your architecture, everybody get the same result, then your architecture can be considered for to be changed or to be categorized as a template. But that requires a certain approval stages. It takes a few years before an architecture can be acknowledged as a template. Okay? Right, okay, this is most important thing. Difficult to do, but can be done. Your architecture should be technology independent. So when you create your architecture should be universal. Let's say I create a mobile app, then I create one architecture. So my architecture can be developed using Swift, my architecture can be developed using Flutter, React, Java native is what? Android native is what? Kotlin. You can develop using Kotlin, doesn't matter. One architecture, different technology can implement it. Right? That is the most ideal scenario. But it can be quite challenging. Why? Because we need to have an architecture that can be so universal that it will cover every constraint, every restriction in different languages. However, this one is still subject to the NFR. If in your NFR, there is a statement that says your client decided that this system must be developed using C programming language. This system must be developed using Flutter. We call it as development constraint under non-functional requirement category constraint. Okay, your user can put that statement. This system must be developed using Flutter. Then your architecture must be compatible with Flutter 100%. Right? So with that, your target is Flutter. You don't have to think about any other languages. So it depends on the NFR. Next, separate module that produce data from module that consume data. In other words, don't put your crude process in the same package as your UI and your process. Okay. Any code that you want, any component that handle data that translate, data that you process that will go into the database, go into from the database, out from the database, that one must be grouped together. Then any data that use the data, any code or any component that use the data must be put in another package or in another folder. So there must be a clear separation between module that produce data and module that consume data. Okay, so data processing, business processing, UI UX, they must be separated. Do not mix them together. Okay, do not mix them together. This is very daily. Okay, this problem always happens in web-based application, especially who are those who use PHP or JSP or whatnot, but you guys never use a standard. For example, in PHP, it uses a framework called Laravel. There is a clear separation between these three things. But they say if you develop PHP from scratch, you decide what folder that you want to create. We call it as vanilla PHP, right? In that basic PHP, you develop from scratch. Most of the time, you will combine data, UI, process in one page. Data, UI, and process in one page. So that will cause problem to software design, especially when it comes to reusability and maintainability. Okay, the reason for this, the reason is for this idea or for this best practices, because we want to achieve reusability and then we want to achieve maintainability. Okay? Reusability and maintainability. Right. Next, include component interaction of pattern or design pattern. Okay, now we talk about architectural pattern for this. Now, when we go to the lower layer, from architecture, component, subcomponent, until the last thing, class. Even for class design, when you draw and you arrange your class, it is suggested for you to use a pattern. My dear brother, so in front of me, can you leave the class for 5 minutes? Settle whatever that you want to discuss, whatever game that you are playing, whatever food that you are eating. 5 minutes, wash your face, come back, and then you can either come back or you can either go home. I don't mind. I told you this in week 1. Bro, don't please, I need to continue my class. Can you leave the class for 5 minutes, please? Thank you. Right. Okay? So, for class arrangement, when you draw class diagram, all this one you just click inheritance, you just click interface for fun, right? Actually, there is a pattern that you can use. And each pattern solves different problem. Okay, each pattern solves different problem. They say if my class diagram is too dependent on each other because it's high coupling problem. So there are class diagram for that. They say I have a problem where this class must have only one object. We discussed in tutorial, right? What do we mean by create an object in week 1 and week 2? So there is a pattern that talks about that. Okay, in certain scenario, we have a class that we do not want to have too many objects in the memory. We only have one copy. So there is a pattern for that. There is a template where you can achieve it. We call it a singleton. There are 22 patterns at this moment that you can use for class arrangement. And lastly, if required, be specific on risk. Okay, this is what if you are developing something related to robotic or something that involves hardware like IoT, smart car, smart home, where there is a lot of hardware, then you need to be careful on resource specification. So means that your architecture must also involve communication with hardware. So now it's no longer software architecture, we are talking about system architecture. So the last one, actually more, to be more specific, this is system architecture. Right? System architecture. So if you can achieve all the blue color suggestion and you can achieve all the green color suggestion, then it is predicted, okay, predicted that you can have a good architecture. Then you can have a good architecture. Question? Sorry, not question. Anything that you want to clarify? Which part that you think does not make sense to you? By the way, are you just from foundation or diploma? Foundation, all from foundation. Because sometimes when I talk to diploma students, because they have gone and some of them they already go through internship, and some of them they already do part-time work before they join degree. So sometimes they have their own experience, and I like to know the experience. Maybe this in my company we don't do that. We do this. I want to see if that can, if the experience and what we discussed in class can be aligned so that we don't create any kind of confusion. Anything? Are we clear? Good? Right, if good, then let's go to the last part of chapter 1, software architecture process. Right, so if you refer to tutorial 1, self-study question number 1. Please, using a diagram, please explain about software architecture process. So this is what we are going to do. Chapter 1.6. So these are the steps. Okay. So basically, it's just a step. How to create an architecture or how to develop a good architecture. Right. So step number 1, we need to do what we call as architectural analysis. Okay, we will discuss about this later. Step number 2, we are going to do architectural synthesis. Okay, so before that, architectural analysis, the input for us to do architectural analysis is our requirement. Okay, our requirement. But usually we focus only on NFR. Okay, we focus only on NFR. Where do we get our NFR? From our SRS, Software Requirement Specification. Okay, so we do architecture analysis. What do we get? We get a list of quality attribute, what we call as ASR. Too many acronyms. Make sure you understand ASR, SRS, dash go, okay, go. ASR, architecture significant requirement. So now we identify the quality objective. Then from the ASR, we develop our architecture. We call it as architectural synthesis. From architectural synthesis, we do architectural evaluation. And lastly, architectural evolution. So let's look one by one. What is architectural analysis? So architectural analysis means that to define sorry, to define the problem that to define the problem that your architecture want to achieve, aka quality objective. What is the quality objective that your architecture want to achieve? Okay, Ridwan, how about my functional requirement? No, functional requirement is not important at this stage. Remember we are talking about initial design, architecture, construction. At this stage, functional requirement put aside. It's all about quality objective. So when I say to define the problem, means that what is the quality objective that we want to achieve, right? So what is the input? The input is the architectural concern, interest which pertain to the system development, operation, and any other aspect that are critical to one or more shareholders. What value that is so concerning that stakeholder would like you to resolve? Okay, to simplify the paragraph, the quality attribute that is relevant to your system. So I emphasize this word. It must be relevant, it must be suitable. Don't simply choose an architecture. I say don't simply choose a quality objective. It must be relevant, it must be suitable. Okay, next, context. The setting and circumstances of developmental, operational, political, and other influences. So guys, this is what I call constraint. That's why I said from the beginning just now. When I talk about NFR, actually NFR consists of two. One is called QA or QO, quality adjective or quality attribute. Another one is constraint. For example, legal constraint, law. I use this in the tutorial, so I'm going to say this again. If you go to Dubai or UAE, if you want to use encryption in your system, you must follow the encryption algorithm that has been selected by Dubai and UAE. You cannot use any random encryption algorithm. If not, you can be penalized or you will be considered as violating or breaking the rule of the nation. That one is called constraint. However, that case in the case of Dubai, that one is more to detailed design, nothing to do with architecture. But there are a few constraints that will affect architecture. So that constraint is called context. The environment of developmental, operational, political, and other influences upon the system. Say developmental. For example, if the user say, I want you to develop the system using C programming, I don't care. That one is developmental constraint. Operational. What is our cost? They say our system will be developed by four teams. One team in Australia, Singapore, India, Malaysia. So we have four teams. So our architecture must be suitable to the distributed development situation. That one is operational. Okay. Then we have political and other influences. Okay, political and other influences. Hey, by the way, how does political factor affect development? Ah, you guys are 18 above, right? You can vote. May I understand this? How does political factor of a country affect a software development project? Okay, let's make it easier. How does political environment of an organization or your client affect your project? Okay, let's say you take a project from a client and you know that this client they have very very intensive office politics, right? Office politics, people being kicked out, people being bring in without qualification, blah blah blah. Too many gossip, blah 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 blah. Okay, so what happens that you take that political factor of that particular client as one of the risks. So when you create an architecture, you want to create an architecture that can handle the issue of politics. May I know what's the reason for that? Anybody? Any idea? Why political factor? Regardless of country political factor, client political factor will affect my software development project. And as a software architect, I must take that into consideration. Anybody? No, no one. Okay, since that is not part of the syllabus, I leave it for you to think. Okay, one question to ask yourself before you sleep tonight. Yes? Ask yourself, how does political environment or political factor can affect software development project? Therefore, as a software architect, you must make a decision in order to handle that political thingy. Okay, good. Okay, for you to think. Alright, next. So what is the output of architectural analysis? What we call as architecturally significant requirement. Okay, so from architectural analysis, we can summarize that we need to identify okay, relevant quality objective and constraint. Okay, to identify relevant quality objective and constraint. What is the output? A list of quality objectives, one or two quality objectives that we want to achieve. So that is called ASR, architectural certificate requirement. Okay, done. Step number one. Now we go to step number two. Oh, sorry. Before we go to step number two, let's discuss a bit what is ASR. Right, so ASR is requirement that will have a profound effect. So it will definitely give impact on the architecture. Successful architecture cannot be achieved without a good ASR. Okay, quality objective lah. Okay, commonly but not always. Okay, commonly, usually, but not always. ASR is equal to quality objectives, quality attribute. But sometimes it can be ASR equal to quality attribute plus constraint. Okay, plus constraint. For those who forget what is constraint, refer back to your SRE notes. I think there is one slide in the SRE notes that show like a organization chart, different type of NFR. Refer to that slide. Okay. Architecture structure. So when you construct an architecture structure and anything that you want to put into the architecture are highly dependent on the quality attribute. Why? Okay, now back to this question. For example, again, restaurant management system, right? Restaurant management system. Then you said my quality objective is availability. My question is, why do we need availability? Because when the system goes down, then the waiter cannot key in the data into the order into the system. Therefore, client cannot or customer cannot order. Then I ask the question, can I take the order manually or not? When your system goes down, does the operation of the restaurant 100% stop? No. Why? Because I can take order manually. It will be messy, but the operation of my restaurant can still run. Do I need availability? One question. Number two. Let's say you argue with me. No, we still want availability because we promise to our client everything in the restaurant is automated. Meaning that, okay, one way to achieve availability is to have backup server. So with that, we have one main server, then you're going to add at least one more server. One main server, one backup server. One server goes down, automatically the second server will go up. But when you do that, what happens to the cost of the project? It will increase. Let's say the project, your boss, your big boss, you are the developer, big boss, he accepted the project for the cost of 50,000 ringgit. And you choose availability. And your architecture requires two servers. When we do calculation, when the project manager comes, hey, what? Your architecture fit or not our 50,000 budget? And you calculate, hey, no, extra 20,000 because I need to add one more server. Because when the first discussion, we only predicted one server. That's what I say. If you choose the wrong quality objective, it will impact everything. The project manager, the cost, the timing, and everything. Okay? So, that's why don't simply choose the quality objective. Right? Okay. ASR. Where can I get this? I can get, okay, the first resource is requirement document. By right, when you do architectural analysis, you don't need to meet the client. Enough by referring to SRS. But I have to admit, 20 plus odd year, I become a consultant. Most of the time, the SRS is incomplete. Right? The worst case scenario, the company will put at the NFR statement NA. Two meaning, not available or not applicable. My meaning, lazy. Either the requirement analyst is lazy or he don't know what is quality attribute is all about. Okay, most of the time I can say this lah. Not available or not applicable. The whole chapter empty. Just the header. Okay? Or, okay, if your SRS is there, then you can start communicate with the stakeholder. You can meet with the stakeholder or the client and then you can request for interview. But nowadays, what happens is that during requirement study, before the SRF is produced, when we capture the requirement, when we gather requirement, usually the requirement team will invite the architect and his team to join together the requirement gathering process. So requirement system architect will guide the requirement team how to identify quality objective for functional requirement. Okay, right. And lastly, you also need to look at the business goal. What is the vision and mission of the company? But most importantly is that you need to ask the client, why do you need the software? Why do you want the software? This is very critical. Why do you need the software? Why are you willing to spend 1.5 million for this particular project? What actually you want from this? What is the impact of this system that you are looking for? Uh, why do you want your restaurant to have a system when your restaurant only have 100 customer at one time? Ask the person, okay? Ask the CEO. Because this question will become your quality objective. Right? Cool. Right, now, what are the challenges? Okay, we are still under step number one. What are the challenges in capturing ASR? What are the problems that architects always face when they want to achieve, when they want to get the ASR? Number one, incomplete, outdated, missing requirement document. So your SRS is useless. Okay, right? Your SRS does not help me at all, right? Because I get incomplete, outdated, missing requirement. Hey, I met a company in 2007, 2008. Yeah, 2005. Yeah, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2007. I met a company, I'm the consultant. When I look at the SRS, what they do, they snapshot the whole page of the system because they write code first. They snapshot of the whole system, and then the SRS only tell if you click this menu, it will open this page. You click this button, you will basically they are doing user manual. User manual, boom, SRS. When I look at the user manual, the only difference that they change the word user manual, and then the UI in the user manual is more updated than the UI in the requirement document. Okay. So yeah. So I was hired by the by one of the company owner to look into that. Right. So we forced them to change the way they do their works. Okay, number two, the non-functional requirements are not aligned with the business goal. Not aligned. We discussed this last week. The client say after using your system, I expect my number of client will my number of user will increase by 16%. But your quality objective is maintainability. Nothing to do with the increment of user. Alright? So not aligned. Number three, non-functional requirements are not recorded in the requirement document. Only functional. So this is missing basically, only functional. Number four, stakeholders are not sure. Okay, this is the most difficult one. Um, Mr. Mr. Jeremy, why do you want to develop a system for a restaurant? I don't know. I think it's a trend now. All system now use system. All restaurant now use system. I also want to use system. Jeremy is not the now. Again, I faced this situation a few years back. So that's why any group that do restaurant management, I'm so happy to talk to you. Right? Just because of trend. Just because of trend. Just because of trend. Okay? So be careful. Not all trends are good for your business. Okay? So now, by the way, can you help me? If the stakeholder does not show of what they want, then how you as a software architect want to identify the quality objective? Now, I give you one question. You ask, the SRS is incomplete and FR is missing. You go to the stakeholder, you go to the client. Okay, they say I go to the client. The client say I do not know why. I just want to have an application. The current trend show that everybody use application. My children say, tell your empty canteen also use system. So my restaurant also must use system. Now, you are the architect. How do you want to do this? How do you want to do this? Any idea? Let's say you work in the future, let's say 3 years from now, you face this scenario. You look at the requirement document, there is no edit part. When you look at all the interview description, there is no discussion about quality or business goal. So what you do, you get the permission from your project manager, you go to the client organization or client side, you contact them, you interview them. But it happens to be the statement given to you is, we don't know. We just want the operation of our organization to be automated. That's all. Everybody use mobile phone, so we want our staff to use our system through mobile phone so that they can work 24/7. Even after office hours, we can ask them to do work 24/7. Now, how do you want to continue your job? How do you want to proceed? You pun cincai lah, buatlah whatever quality objective tak ada. Since we don't have any quality objective, just do whatever lah. And we go with performance lah, performance. Okay, I give you the second question. How as a software architect, you want to proceed with your work? You are currently an architectural analysis. You don't have any more sources for you to capture your quality objective. How do you want to proceed? Okay, second question. So I give you two questions already for you to think before you say none. Okay, number 2. Documented non-functional requirements are not testable or unmeasurable. Okay, this is the most common thing also. My system, your system, the system must respond very fast. The system must be able to handle a lot of users. Right? The system must have high security. All these are not testable, are not measurable. Oh, the system must be always available. What do you mean by always? 24/7? 90% of 24/7? 99% of 24/7? 99% of your operation time from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.? What is always available? Because later on, your software tester want to test this, right? So if you yourself cannot identify this, then imagine how the software tester want to test. He or she also cannot test. So be specific. If you say available like what? Then for example, you say the system must be 90% available. 90% uptime. Every operational day between 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Right, it must be 90% uptime. Uptime is the operational, so 90% operational or uptime every operational day between 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. They say my operational day is Monday to Friday. So means that we are talking about 9% and 90% from 5 days multiplied by 8 to 5, how many hours? 9, roughly. 9 or 10? 9. Okay, say lah, 9 hours. So this is your availability. So if your system down during weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 48 hours. So means that after the company shut down, after the company closed, 5 p.m., the company already closed, suddenly your system shut down. Until Sunday night. That one, okay, the one is not counted as available anymore. It's no longer part of the formula. So you have to be specific. When you say available, what is the what is the uptime, what is the downtime. Okay, another thing about available. Okay, when you talk about available, you must also talk about what is the time taken to recover. You always talk about uptime, 90%, 24/7, 99%, but no one talk about after the system goes down, how fast the system will on again, will be up. What is the time taken to recover? What is the minimum time for you to recover? What is your promise to your client? If our system down during operational hour, maximum 30 minutes, the system must be up. That one is also a calculation for availability. I know some of you already understand this. Just quick recap for those who don't know. And lastly, architects cannot wait for finished requirements. So this is new. This is something new. Previously, architect always wait for requirements to complete. But in the current situation, in the current working of software development, as I said, we invite the architect and his team to be part of the requirement study team. Okay? But the problem with this technique, there will be bias. What is bias? The architect will tell the client what is the quality objective that you must have. Then what happens is that the quality objective is no longer organic. It's no longer coming originally from the client. Right? Architect is a very busy person. He wants to finish up the session early. It's okay, Ridwan. Your system, I've developed this kind of system many times. Your quality objective should be this and this. But then the client agree. And then habislah. The quality objective is no longer organic. It becomes biased. When bias happen, you cannot blame the architect when the quality objective is not suitable. Because the architect will say, hey, you refer back to the requirement. The client will agree to this. Not my fault. Again, so architect say, bye-bye. Not my fault. I'm done. So try as much as possible. Do not invite the architect and the design team to the requirement study. Unless if you have to do that. Okay, example of ASR. Okay, performance. Transaction response time. A user update a patient account in response to a change must be less than 0.75 seconds. At peak load means that during peak hour, the system is able to complete 150 transactions per second. That is also performance. Okay, so on and so forth lah. You can read this on your own. Okay, step number 2 in architectural design, we are going to do architectural synthesis. Once you have the ASR, you do synthesis. AKA, now you need to construct. You need to develop your architecture. Okay, sorry. I did mention something wrong during tutorial. Okay, now. When you get your ASR, you can directly construct. Okay, you can build your architecture directly. But the problem when you do that, if you don't refer to any template, as I said, only you and your team understand why the architecture behaves like that. So there will be no guideline to say that your work is 100% correct. But can be done. Okay, can be done. But there is an alternative way to do this. What happens is that you identify 2 or 3 architecture pattern that is suitable to your ASR. After you do that, then only you construct. Okay, sorry, I didn't mention this in the slide. Okay, identify 2 or 3 architecture pattern. Right? They say your quality objective is X and Y. That is your quality objective. So I do my study, I read a lot of articles, I watch YouTube and whatnot, there are a lot of patterns. So I choose pattern A, pattern B, and pattern C. So pattern A, pattern B, and pattern C support X and Y. Okay? So what I do as an architect, now I need to make my decision. So what is my architecture? So I have a few options. I can take A or B or C. Okay, of course, every architecture pattern, every template has its own pro and con. There are weaknesses, there are advantages. Of course, I will choose one with the biggest advantages to my project. But sometimes you can also combine A and B, or B and C, or A and C. Right? But sometimes you can also combine A, B, and C. So you choose one. What is your final architecture? So now means that if you have the experience, then you can use the black color. So means that from the requirement, directly you construct. You create your own structure. But if you don't have the skill, and then you want some guarantee that the architecture will work, then you can use template. You can use pattern. But don't simply choose one pattern, boom, architecture done. No. Identify a few candidates, then you make your decision. Which one will become your architecture? So same goes to your assignment. Your first step, two quality adjective. Your second step, three architectural patterns suitable with your quality adjective. Your third step, step number three, then only you develop your architecture. Right, that will be your group work assignment. Okay, done. So now what is the output? The output will become our architecture. So synthesis, simple, just construct. Then we evaluate. So why do we evaluate? Because we want to identify any weaknesses, or we want to identify any error in our architecture. If there are errors, then we go back to synthesis. Sometimes we need to even go back to analysis, right? When we conduct evaluation, when we conduct review, we see that way. Even our quality objective is not right. Then you have to go back to analysis. Okay? Right, done. So this is basically what we call as architectural review session. Okay? Architectural review session. This is where you call the tester, you call your project manager, you call your one representative of your client, we sit down together. It's a formal meeting. It must be minuted, note must be taken, then we look page by page. We look at the architecture from A until Z. Find any kind of error. Once approved, then only we give to the next stage, which is detailed design, team. Okay, last stage is architectural evolution. Okay, the idea is that once your system is complete, okay, this is my system already complete, let's say after 5 years, suddenly the user said, I want to create a new module. Right? Then what you do, then when you do analysis, the new module require changes to the architecture. Not major, but maybe minor. For example, I need to add one more layer in my 3-layer architecture. I need to add one more layer, for example. That one okay. But if we need to revamp, we need to remove all the architecture, means that you are developing from zero. Okay? So evolution needed to maintain and adapt. Okay? Maintain and adapt existing software architecture to meet changes or new requirements. But we are talking about minor changes only. Not change the whole thing. Right? If you change the whole thing, then basically you are creating something new. The best example to this scenario is Windows OS. Everything before Windows 11, actually the architecture is the same. Windows 10, Windows 8, Windows XP. I think XP was you were not born yet. Windows NT. The architecture is the same. They just change the component. But when they decide to launch Windows 11, they scrap the whole thing. The project starts from zero. So that's why Windows 11 behaves a little bit different than all the predecessors. Okay? So that's one good example of how they change architecture, either major or minor. Okay, we are talking about minor. Done. So from that four general process, analysis, synthesis, evaluation, evolution, then people come out with different model or different methodology. People is asking, After analysis, can I go back? Can I go straight to evaluation? Then only I go to blah blah. So they are asking, how can we run this? What is the flow? They are asking this. What is the flow? What is the flow? Right? So what happened that they come up with different methodology, different model. We have AED, we have RP 4+1 DO, we have BAPO, Business Architecture Process Organization, BEFO, and a lot more models. But I'm not going to discuss that. That is not important for this. As long as you remember, we have analysis, synthesis, evaluation, and evolution. Okay. Quick question. SDLC. Planning, analysis, design, coding, maintenance, or evolution. This is a model or not? How many of you say I developed my system using SDLC model? This is not model. These are just steps. Okay? Model, the one that you learn, waterfall and whatnot. For example, in waterfall, say planning must go to analysis, must go to design, must go to coding, must go to evaluation. Then you cannot go back, right? Usually for military application and house application, we use this model. They say prototype. Prototype also have planning. Prototype is a bit different. We have planning, we have requirement. But when you go for prototype, you will have design, coding, testing. So that is prototype 1. Then you go to design, coding, testing. Prototype 2. Then you go design, coding, testing. Prototype 3. So this is model. The steps are the same, but the way you execute the steps are different from each model. So same goes in this thing. There are 4 basic steps, but the flow, how do you go from one step to another step is different for each model. Okay, for each model. So at the end of the day, no one process is best. You need to check this on the strength and weaknesses, right? Depends on which model that is suitable for you. But at least you must know there are 4 basic steps to do an architecture. Okay, you can refer to chapter 20 of this ebook if you want to know more about AA, actually ADD, architecture model. But I'm not going to talk I'm not going to discuss that. It's not really important. Okay, cool. That is the end of chapter 1. Any question? This is my style of teaching. I will take my own time to discuss something. I prefer for you to understand the fundamental rather than we go through like speedboat. Then no one understands anything. Don't worry, I'll prepare the exam question. If we cannot cover some of the chapter, then that chapter will disappear from the question. Don't worry. Any question? Can we proceed? What do you mean by no? It's 8:26. We agree 8:45, right? 那个一直都是，一直都要给的。Right. Before we end, again, for all group, regardless under Dr. Hida or Mr. Irshad or my group, remember the target of the assignment is to evaluate your decision-making process. We don't care about your architectural pattern that you choose. We care about how you choose it. We don't care about the quality objective. We care about how you choose the quality objective. So that's why in the software design document there is justification. That is not part of SED. I add that as a critical process. Okay? So Anybody don't understand how to do the assignment? By right, week 2, week 3, you already identify what will be adjective, and then you can start moving over to your architecture. Right? If nothing more, then I'll see you next week. Thank you.
因为我今天的话就上